Hey, what's going on, guys? You already know who it is. It's your favorite internet sweaty, your boy Mikey Savage 21, and I just wanted to do a quick little video talking about Spider-Man and Wonder Woman and ultimately War for the Planet of the Apes. Now, I'm not going to get into any spoilers or anything. We're just basically going to talk about how basically people have been saying that Spider-Man isn't as successful as Wonder Woman, and I'm here to say that that's not true. I said, look at it like this. Everyone's, poo-pooing on Spider-Man Homecoming, saying that, oh, it should have been #1 in the box office. I can't believe War for the Planet of the Apes beat it out. That must mean it's not any good, or everybody that's already seen it has saw it. That's not necessarily the case. I said, look at War for the Planet of the Apes. It opened up with 56 million, and Spider-Man Homecoming opened up with 44 million. Now, the week prior, Spider-Man opened up with 117 million, and it had a 62% drop. Rightfully so, that's fine, but the only reason is because, again, War for the Planet of the Apes came in, and if you think about it, War for the Planet of the Apes was actually the lowest opening, because Dawn of the Planet of the Apes managed to have 72 million when it first opened up, but it was going up against Transformers Age of Extinction, Tammy, 22 Jump Street, and How to Train Your Dragon 2, and all these other films that were coming out, and Transformers Age of Extinction was basically on its way out, basically. And so a lot of people have been making a comparison, saying that if Spider-Man couldn't beat out War for the Planet of the Apes, that means it was not a good film, and that's not the case. Spider-Man Homecoming is very successful, and it's doing great. And as far as compared to Wonder Woman, yes, Wonder Woman in her opening weekend, she made 103 million and then dropped down to 58 million with only a 43.3% drop according to Box Office Mojo. And then you look at Spider-Man Homecoming, and it had a 62.2% drop. So a lot of people are saying that it's not even as good as Wonder Woman, and that's not gonna have legs. And see, that's not the case. You got to think about it. When Wonder Woman came out second weekend, she really didn't have too much competition. She had The Mummy, which, The Mummy took a little bit away from the box office. You had Captain Underpants, which took a little bit away from the box office. You still had Pirates of the Caribbean coming out. That took away from the box office. And you still had Guardians of the Galaxy eating at some of the box office as well. There and again, weekend box office from this past weekend, you had movies like Baby Driver, which made a good bit but didn't necessarily eat away too much from Spider-Man Homecoming. You have Despicable Me 3, which is a well-known franchise, and it brought in 19 million, so that took a little away from it. You have The Big Sick, which came in at #5, and that took a little small measly 7 million from it. And so I look at it as like Spider-Man Homecoming is not necessarily a failure just because it wasn't #1 this weekend. Let's see how it does next weekend. Again, ultimately, it's not about can it stay #1. Ultimately, it's can it stay in the top 5 and have legs. That's the one thing that Wonder Woman is credited as doing, is that it stayed for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks in the top 5, because the movie had appeal not only to critics and to fans, but people were just going out in droves and seeing it multiple times, and it had legs, and it kept holding on each week and only having these little small measly percentage drop. Now again, you look at Spider-Man Homecoming, and it had a 62.2% drop, while Wonder Woman at the time didn't really drop that much at all. But there and again, it wasn't opening up against anything too major, because again, I think at that point The Mummy had already came out. No, I take that back. The Mummy had already came out, so that was still eating away a little bit from its box office, I believe. I have to double check. So it still had competition against it. Same thing for Spider-Man Homecoming. That does not necessarily make it a bad film just because it had a 62.2% drop. That's fine. I mean, again, look at War for the Planet of the Apes. The movie was fantastic, and I get why, it beat Spider-Man, but that's not saying that War for the Planet of the Apes is a better movie than Spider-Man Homecoming necessarily. Both films transcend their genre a little bit, and both films respectively have done fantastically well, both by critics and by fans, and both are series of respective franchises. Again, Spider-Man at the end of the day is a franchise. We've seen a couple of iterations and had at least 5 or so films now for the Spider-Man franchise, but there and again, as a whole, people are still a little, stuck on Tobey Maguire. You have some who are still trying to get the awful stints that was The Amazing Spider-Man 2 out of their mouth. So you could also say that kind of attributed to it too for its percentage drop. But I ultimately think that, look, this percentage drop is not a big deal. Again, let's just see what happens next weekend when other big movies are coming out, like Dunkirk, Atomic Blonde, Girls Trip. Let's just see what these films are going to do to the box office. Again, it's not about it staying #1 in the box office. What it's ultimately about is staying in the top 5 and having little small drops, basically, like Wonder Woman did. Wonder Woman basically dropped every couple of weeks. Maybe it'll drop like 30% here, and then it'll drop like 20%, and then it just keeps going from there. And ultimately, if Spider-Man Homecoming has legs and continue to do the same thing, then I don't think the film is in any form of trouble. But you guys let me know your thoughts down in this below. I just kind of woke up and just saw a lot of people poo-pooing on Spider-Man Homecoming, saying that it was a failure just because it didn't manage to beat War for the Planet of the Apes. And again, if it beat out War for the Planet of the Apes, then I would be worried for War for the Planet of the Apes, because again, I saw the movie and it was fantastic, but I also saw Spider-Man Homecoming and thought it was fantastic. But for a film like that, that's even more well established and has not had any bad track records yet, because we've gotten 2 very great films and now we have a very great third film. So again, you have to think about Spider-Man also has had some failures in the past, and people are still trying to wash that taste out of their mouth. Plus you have some people who are still nostalgic to the Raimi Spider-Man and aren't willing to give this new Spider-Man a chance. So you do have other factors working against this Spider-Man. So I don't think that Spider-Man by any means is a failure, and I do think that again, it's still just as great a film as War for the Planet of the Apes, and I don't think we should worry about this too much. But again, you let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for checking out this quick little video. Hey, if you like this video and you want to see more like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and also make sure you tap that little bell so you can be notified every time I drop a video. Like always, thank you so much, and as I always say, remember to become a savage, stay a savage, and peace out, y'all.